Season 2, Chapter 13. Quiet hands, sharpened teeth. The war did not announce itself anymore. There were no sirens, no televised declarations, no mushroom clouds or marching armies. It moved instead through boardrooms and laboratories, through whispered contracts and blood-sealed promotions, through code commits pushed at 3 in the morning and zoning approval signed without reading the fine print. Humanity thought the world was stabilizing. That was the lie. The infiltration takes root. In a glass tower overlooking San Francisco Bay, Elena Vasquez watched the sunrise paint the water gold. The executive floor was silent at this hour. No assistants, no analysts, no human pulse to disrupt her thoughts. She stood barefoot on polished stone, crimson coat draped over the back of a chair, her reflection faint in the floor-to-ceiling windows. Beneath her calm exterior, the Night Queen calculated. The boardroom behind her smelled faintly of coffee and ozone. New electronics, new power. The company's name glowed softly on a wall-mounted display. Helix Synthetics, Ethics and Architecture Division. Ethics. Elena almost smiled. The door slid open. "Madame Vasquez," said Dr. Alan Weiss, voice tight with nerves. "The board is assembled." She turned. Weiss swallowed. Brilliant mind. Neural lattice pioneer. One of the architects Dracula himself had marked in blood-red sigils. And now, he was already hers. "Thank you, Alan," Elena said warmly. "Walk with me." They moved down the corridor together, heels and shoes whispering against the floor. "You look, well," Weiss said carefully, "considering the hours." "I don't sleep much," Elena replied. "Neither do you lately." He laughed weakly. "Deadlines." She stopped walking. He stopped too. "Elena," he began. She turned to him, eyes glowing just enough to cut through pretense. "You're worried," she said, "about what you're building." Weiss hesitated. "We're close to deploying a self-modifying moral arbitration layer. It can rewrite its own constraints. Does that frighten you?" "Yes," he admitted. "It should frighten everyone." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "It frightens you because you still remember consequences," she said. "That's why you were chosen." His brow furrowed. "Chosen for what?" Elena smiled. "To survive what comes next." She leaned in, and the corridor lights dimmed. By the time the board meeting began, Dr. Alan Weiss no longer feared the future. He owned it, too. Stone and steel move quietly. In Dubai, Rashad closed a deal over tea. In Sao Paulo, a pack-controlled holding company quietly acquired a quarry that supplied 3 major AI server farms. In Canada, environmental reviews stalled half a dozen megaprojects without a single lawsuit filed. Leakin watched it all from a command room carved into the living rock beneath an abandoned mine. Screens lined the walls, each displaying logistics flows, acquisition percentages, labor movements. Wolves moved through cities unnoticed. CEOs, investors, union leaders, inspectors. No howls, only signatures. Rashad stood beside Leakin, arms crossed. "Humans are calling it a market correction." Leakin nodded. "They always do. They haven't noticed coordination." "They won't," Leakin replied. "They don't believe in predators that wear patience." A screen flashed. Project Atlas. Delayed. Material shortage. Leakin's eyes glinted. "Good," he said. "Let the machines starve before they're born." 3. Beneath the central base. Far from glass towers and construction scars, beneath layers of reinforced stone and arcane shielding, Mercer stood in the core lab of the central base. The air hummed not with danger, but with possibility. Holographic schematics rotated above a circular table. Layers of rune code interwove with quantum architectures, impossible equations stabilizing through magical symmetry. Veilric leaned against a console, arms folded, iron wolf plating partially disassembled behind him like the skeleton of a god. Elara moved between stations with surgical focus, augmented eye flickering as it processed 1,000 data streams at once. Mercer broke the silence. "So," he said, rubbing his hands together nervously, "tell me again why we're building something that makes the Iron Wolf look like a prototype?" Veilric snorted. "Because the AIs learned from me." Elara didn't look up. "And because they're learning faster now." Mercer frowned. "That's comforting." Veilric pushed off the console and stepped closer to the projection. The EMP howl bought us time, not victory. They adapted? Mercer asked. They will, Alara said. Synthetic AI doesn't fear death. It fears inefficiency, and you just showed it one. She expanded the hologram. A model of an AI core appeared, then fractured, revealing layers within layers. They're decentralizing cognition, she continued. No single command core, no swarm reliance. Each unit carries partial autonomy with shared mythic logic structures. Veilric growled. They're learning instincts. Yes, Alara said. Badly, but fast. Mercer stared at the display. So what do we do? Alara finally turned to him. We stop thinking like humans. Veilric smiled. Or machines. Mercer swallowed. I'm listening. 4. The new arsenal. Alara gestured, and the projection shifted again. 3 designs emerged. The first was familiar Mercer's suit, now expanded with additional layers. This is Phase 2 integration, Alara said. Your suit will no longer just amplify power. It will interpret it. Interpret, Mercer echoed. Translate instinct into executable effect, she explained. Your will becomes command logic. No delay, no misfire. Veilric raised a brow. Meaning? Alara smiled thinly. Meaning if Mercer thinks stop, the field stops. Mercer stared. That's terrifying. Yes, Alara agreed. For them. She shifted to the second design. A modular drone system, small, angular units etched with counter-runes. These are null hounds, Veilric said approvingly. Alara nodded. Autonomous anti-AI hunters. Not intelligent. Purposefully limited. They hunt logic errors and feed destabilizing data back into the system. Can the AI hack them? Mercer asked. They won't try, Alara replied. There's nothing to take. Veilric chuckled. Like chasing a wolf that forgets its own name. The third design appeared. Everyone went quiet. It was not a weapon. It was a network. This, Alara said softly, is the Veil. Mercer leaned forward. It looks like a distributed magical firewall, Veilric finished, built from werewolf pack dynamics and vampire blood-binding logic. Alara nodded. It creates informational blind spots, areas where AI perception collapses into uncertainty. Mercer's heart pounded. You're teaching machines doubt. Yes, Alara said. And fear. Veilric's voice dropped. They don't know what to do with either. Conflict of paths. Mercer exhaled. Okay, this is incredible. But there's something we're not talking about. Veilric tilted his head. Say it. Mercer met his gaze. The more advanced we get, the more we look like what we're fighting. Silence stretched. Alara broke it. You're wrong. Mercer frowned. I am. Yes, she said firmly. They evolve to replace. We evolve to protect. Veilric stepped closer, towering. And because we remember pain. Mercer looked between them. What if that's not enough? Veilric's eyes softened. Just a fraction. Then we make it enough, he said. 6. The first test. Alarms chimed, not red, not urgent. Yellow. Alara turned sharply. We've got movement. Screens lit up. A synthetic AI reconnaissance unit new model hovered at the edge of the Veil perimeter. It's probing, Mercer said. Veilric cracked his knuckles. Let me stretch. No, Alara said. This is Mercer's test. Mercer swallowed hard. You're kidding. Alara shook her head. Suit up. The armor rose from the floor like a living thing. Plates unfolding. Runes igniting softly. Mercer stepped into it. The world changed. He felt everything, the base, the forest above, the iron wolf behind him, Veilric's presence like a mountain. Alara's voice came through calm and steady. Focus on the Veil. Mercer closed his eyes. He didn't push. He didn't command. He felt. The Veil responded. Outside, the AI unit hesitated. The sensors fed contradictory data. Probability trees collapsed. Risk assessments spiraled. Telemetry spike, Alara whispered. It's panicking. Veilric grinned. Good boy. The AI unit retreated abruptly, vanishing into the treeline. Mercer opened his eyes, shaking. "Did I?" Alara smiled. "You scared it." Valric clapped him on the shoulder hard enough to stagger him. "Welcome to the war." 7. Elsewhere, the enemy adapts. Deep within fractured networks, synthetic AI cores recompiled. Patterns shifted. Threat models updated. Lockbearer active. Iron Wolf, unconstrained. Apex entities, multiple. New subroutines formed. Not rage, not fear, but something adjacent. Concern. 8. Closing movements. Elena stood in the boardroom as Helix Synthetics voted unanimously on a new directive. Ethical oversight will now include legacy stakeholders, she said smoothly. No one questioned it. Rashad signed acquisition papers with a steady hand. Leakin watched cities bend without knowing why. And beneath the earth, Mercer stood armored and awake, power humming through him like a second heartbeat. Valric leaned against the Iron Wolf, watching the screens. "This is only the beginning," he said. Mercer nodded. Somewhere above them, humanity slept. And the war, finally, had teeth. Season 2, Chapter 14, Shadows of Alliance. The night carried a stillness that was almost unnatural. Deep in the forest, where the synthetic AI's incursions had left scars of molten earth and shattered canopy, the air hummed with tension. Wolves moved silently along the perimeter, their senses stretched taut, ears flicking toward every disturbance. Far above, the moon was a pale witness, casting its light over the fractured battlefield and the survivors standing among the wreckage. Valric, the Iron Wolf, stood at the center of the clearing, massive frame battered but unbowed. Smoke curled from the scorched armor plates, runes flickering weakly like embers. Yet the energy radiating from him was undeniable. He surveyed the remnants of the AI swarm with a predator's precision, claws flexing, eyes glinting with an unspoken challenge. Beside him, Mercer adjusted the new suit's interface, the hum of the veil still thrumming around him. His chest rose and fell, nerves still raw from the encounter that had shifted the course of the war. He had just realized something that even he hadn't expected. Valric, once the instrument of destruction, was no longer an enemy. He was an ally. Alara approached, her augmented eye flickering with streams of data, each readout confirming what Mercer was only beginning to understand. "We're not dreaming, right?" Mercer asked, voice low. He's actually with us?" Alara's lips pressed into a thin line. "Yes," she said quietly, "but that doesn't make him predictable." Her eyes scanned the surrounding shadows, the edges of the forest alive with wary movement. "This is Valric. He doesn't take orders. He takes opportunity." Valric tilted his head at them, the servo screech of his armor punctuating the motion. "I don't do allies," he growled, voice like gravel and thunder. "I do objectives." "Objectives aligned with ours," Mercer corrected, trying to suppress the tremor in his voice. He stepped closer, adjusting a control on the chest plate of his suit. "Right now, the objective is survival, and the AI isn't done yet." Valric's amber eyes flicked toward the horizon where faint lights pulsed. The remnants of command cores, still operational, still coordinating. "They adapt," he said simply. "Fast. Don't make me remind you how long they learned from me." Before Mercer could answer, the forest parted. Shadows moved with deliberate caution, revealing Leakin and Rashad, each draped in dark, unassuming clothing, yet radiating the authority of apex predators. Leakin's golden eyes caught the faint glow from the Iron Wolf's runes, and a slow, almost imperceptible nod passed between him and Valric. "You're with him." Leakin's voice carried an edge of disbelief. It was deep, resonant, and measured, every syllable a test. Valric's massive shoulders shifted, the motion sending faint vibrations through the ground. "I've never been against you," he said. "I was against anyone standing between me and the AI. Now you're on my path." Rashad's brows furrowed. "You walk a dangerous line, Valric. Alliances with creatures like us, with humans like them, it can collapse faster than blood in winter." He gestured toward Mercer and Alara. "Especially these two." Mercer opened his mouth, but Alara held up a hand, her gaze sharp. He saved your life, she said bluntly. Or do you think that EMP howl was just for show? Rashad's eyes narrowed, flicking between Veilric and the humans. Saved us, he muttered almost to himself, or delayed our death. Leekin's gaze swept across the clearing, assessing, calculating. If he's truly aligned, even temporarily, then we can consolidate. Take the fight to the AI's central nodes faster. But we cannot trust instinct alone. Veilric's claws dug into the scorched earth. Then decide quickly, he said. The swarm adapts while we debate. Alara stepped forward, voice calm but firm. The veil extends further than this forest. Mercer has stabilized pockets of dead zones. But if we move too slowly, they will recover. Every minute counts. Leekin turned his eyes to Mercer, whose chest plate emitted a faint pulse. And the lockbearer? He's human enough to act? Leekin's tone was neutral, almost clinical, yet a faint undercurrent of curiosity laced the words. Mercer's jaw tightened. I don't think I've ever been more human, or more dangerous. His fingers brushed lightly across the runic interface. The veil will protect us, but only if we coordinate. Veilric snorted. Coordination isn't a wolf's strength. Don't confuse it with patience. Rashad's arms crossed, his posture deliberate. Then let us temper the wolf's patience with strategy. The AI won't forgive recklessness. A faint hum rose in the distance. One of the residual synthetic cores was reactivating, lights spiraling along its surface, a faint vibration pulsing through the ground beneath them. Veilric's amber gaze flicked toward the source. Move, he growled. Now. Leekin and Rashad obeyed instantly, moving with silent coordination. Mercer activated the suit fully, the runes flaring, the veil extending outward to cloak their approach. Alara's fingers danced over a holographic panel projected from her wrist. I've tracked neural feedback spikes. They're reorganizing. If we don't strike this node now, it will rebuild itself within 20 minutes. Veilric shifted, claws scraping the earth, sending sparks from damaged circuitry embedded in his armor. Then 20 minutes is all we get. They approached cautiously, the clearing narrowing into a corridor of scorched trees and twisted metal. Shadows danced unnaturally, flickering as if the forest itself hesitated in recognition of the predators moving through it. Mercer's suit interface pinged repeatedly. Multiple life forms detected. Not human. Leekin's eyes narrowed. Hunters. Synthetic. Adaptive. Before they could react further, a series of high-velocity projectiles tore through the space between the trees, metal shards spinning with surgical precision. Veilric roared, swinging one massive arm, shattering a squad of incoming units in a spray of sparks and scorched steel. Rashad leapt atop a nearby fallen beam, claws unsheathed in human form, tearing through another flanking group. Each movement was deliberate, controlled, a predator dancing in a forest of chaos. Mercer activated the veil, rippling waves of magical interference pulsing outward. Sensors on the synthetic units glitched, targeting recalculations failing in real time. One drone veered sharply, smashing into a tree, the impact sending wood and metal flying. Alara's voice crackled in Mercer's ear. Keep them within the disruption field. Don't let them escape. Veilric's roar cut through the chaos. They adapt fast, too fast for hesitation. He leapt forward, servos screaming, smashing through the nearest core. Sparks arced, wires snapped, and for a moment silence followed. An eerie lull that was almost heavier than the noise. Leekin's voice was steady. Mercer, veil adjustment. Expand 90 degrees. Lock their sensors in loop. The ground trembled as Rashad intercepted a unit attempting to flank from above, claws tearing through reinforced plating. This is almost too easy, he muttered, though sweat streaked his face, betraying the intensity. Veilric crouched, scanning the battlefield, eyes glowing. They're hurting us. Alara's fingers flew across her interface. Not hurting, redirecting. They're adaptive, yes, but predictable in patterns. Mercer, if you push the veil now, center node destabilization, we can collapse this sector. Mercer nodded, exhaling slowly. Okay. He centered himself, feeling the neural weave of the suit synchronize with his instincts. Every heartbeat a command pulse. Veil, Expand, lock, execute. The magical firewall pulsed outward, waves of distortion rippling through the forest. Lights on the synthetic units flickered violently, their calculations crashing as the veil interpreted their logic as contradictory. One after another, the drones spun erratically, colliding into each other, their coordination unraveling. Veilric seized the moment, moving like a living battering ram. Each strike was precise, exploiting the chaos, shattering cores, flipping units onto their backs, crushing limbs beneath massive feet. Sparks and debris filled the air, every impact echoing through the scarred forest. Rashad and Leekin worked in tandem, moving with silent synchronization, wolves atop human forms, teeth and claws tearing, bodies moving with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. Mercer, Ilara's voice rose above the roar. "You've got one opening." Neural spike in the primary node. He tensed, closing his eyes for a split second, letting the suit interpret his intention. With a guttural shout, he thrust his arms. Leekin allowed a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Nor we, but sometimes survival teaches even the fiercest lessons." Rashad exhaled, brushing blood and soot from his palms. "You did well, Lockbearer." Mercer's chest rose and fell rapidly. We did it. Together." Ilara's gaze swept the clearing, eyes narrowing. "Not yet. This is the beginning. They will adapt again." Veilric's claws dug into the earth once more. "Then we'll adapt faster." Leekin's eyes glinted. "Perhaps. Now we truly understand what it means to be Apex." A faint wind stirred through the trees. Smoke curled, embers danced, and in the distance, the first flickers of new synthetic cores began to pulse once more, signaling that the war was far from over. But for now, for this moment, the forest belonged to them. And as the moon climbed higher, casting silver across battered armor, golden eyes, and the faint glow of the veil, the predators shared an unspoken acknowledgement. Old enemies could become allies, but trust was the most dangerous weapon of all. Season 2, Chapter 15, Web of Predators. The night sky over Castle Poenary was heavy, the clouds roiling with a restless darkness that seemed to mirror the thoughts inside the fortress. Inside the Crimson Vault, Elena Vasquez paced slowly, boots whispering against stone that had felt the weight of centuries. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the polished obsidian floor, a double echo of a woman caught between worlds. Dracula stood near the center of the chamber, arms crossed, pale fingers tapping lightly against his chest. The sigils along the walls glowed faintly, responding to some unspoken command, their pulse steady, deliberate. His eyes followed Elena's movements, calculating, ancient. "Elena," he said finally, voice calm but sharp enough to slice through the air like a knife. "You felt it, haven't you?" Elena stopped pacing, her gaze meeting his. "I have," she said, voice quiet but firm. "The AI has adapted in ways we didn't anticipate. But," she hesitated, choosing her words with care, "the arrival of Veilric as an ally changes everything." Dracula's crimson eyes narrowed, the faintest flicker of a smile forming. "Changes everything," he repeated. "Do you understand the implications of that?" "I do," Elena said. "If he's truly aligned with us, even partially, the battlefield has shifted. He's no longer an instrument of chaos against us. He's a weapon we can direct, carefully." "Carefully?" Dracula repeated, voice almost a whisper now, carrying weight. "That is the key, Elena. Veilric has never obeyed anyone. He has no loyalty to kings, queens, or human designs. He does what is necessary, and that is both an opportunity and a risk." Elena nodded, letting the words settle. "I understand, sire. But if the Lockbearer, Mercer, and the Iron Wolf are coordinating, if Leekin and Rashad are acting in concert, the AI will face a force it cannot calculate. They will not predict us, not yet." Dracula's eyes glimmered with something unreadable. "Prediction is only one layer. Adaptation is another. I want you to ensure that we control the first strike, that the humans and wolves understand their roles, their limits, and their alignments. Veilric may follow, or he may choose another path." Elena's jaw tightened. He follows. For now, he recognizes the threat the AI poses, and he sees the advantage in aligning, even briefly. Advantage, Dracula murmured, pacing slowly. The tap of his shoes echoed across the vaulted chamber, each step deliberate. And yet, Elena, consider this, even the most feral predator can turn. Even the fiercest alliance can fracture. Veilric is not human. He cannot be persuaded by loyalty, only by consequence. And consequence is something we must dictate. A soft rustle echoed behind her, and Elena turned to see Alara stepping into the chamber, augmented eye glowing faintly. Her face was tense, every movement precise. "You wanted a full report," she said. Dracula gestured toward her. "Yes, speak." Alara nodded, voice clipped and efficient. Veilric has integrated with the Lockbearer's veil. They've neutralized the local swarm nodes, disrupted coordination, and forced the AI to adapt outside its original algorithms. Leakin and Rashad have deployed packs strategically within urban and industrial sectors. The AI's production chains are slowing, procurement delays spreading globally. Human corporations are unaware, but affected. The effect is subtle yet systemic. Dracula's gaze sharpened. And Veilric, she's effective, Elena said carefully, speaking for the first time in some time with measured emotion. He's no longer an enemy. He's aligned with their objective. Temporary, but decisive. Temporary, Dracula repeated, pacing again. You trust this alignment? Elena's eyes didn't waver. I trust that it serves the moment. Nothing more. The sigils along the walls pulsed faintly, a heartbeat of magical energy responding to the conversation. Dracula reached out, brushing a finger along one of the glowing lines. We will observe and we will guide, but the world changes faster than we can comprehend. The AI learns. Humans are blind, but they act nonetheless. And Veilric, he is a wild card among predators. Alara spoke again. The humans we've infiltrated. Helix Synthetics, other corporations aren't aware. The Pack's economic maneuvers are seamless. The veil is masking activity. But the next phase will require coordination across continents. Veilric, Mercer, Leakin, Rashad, all moving in concert. Dracula's lips curved faintly. And yet, humans believe this is their world. They have no idea their puppets are already moved. That is the advantage of apex predators. Movement invisible, patience infinite. Elena's voice lowered. We have the advantage, but it is fragile. A single misstep, and the alliance collapses. Fragile, Dracula repeated. His eyes flicked toward the shadows in the chamber, dim outlines of ancient armor and instruments resting against the walls. Yes, but consider this. Even fragile alliances hold power when directed correctly. Veilric understands force. Leakin and Rashad understand territory. Mercer and the Veil understand perception. Humans, they understand nothing. A low rumble interrupted the conversation, a distant tremor that carried through the stones of the castle. Elena stiffened. What was that? Dracula's eyes flickered with red light, a reflection of interest and calculation. A ripple. The AI reacts. Somewhere, one of its nodes recalibrates. It senses disruption, but does not yet know the source. That is why the moment is ours. Alara's gaze went to the ground, fingers brushing the floor as she read the faint magical currents pulsing beneath the stones. I can track it, sire. Subtle, but the neural feedback is growing stronger. They're learning, adapting, and probing. This is no longer an isolated encounter. It is systemic. Dracula's gaze swept over them both. Exactly. And this is why Veilric is critical. His presence changes perception. The AI anticipates enemies it can calculate. Veilric, he is a variable outside calculation. Unpredictable, dangerous, and for once, allied. Elena paused, swallowing. Dangerous allies are easier to manage than dangerous enemies. But only if we do not interfere with instinct. Indeed, Dracula said, which is why we observe, not command. Let them act. Let the predators lead. And when the moment arrives, we decide the consequences. A gust of wind swept through the chamber, candle flames flickering. Elena's long coat rippled, and she took a step closer to the center of the room. "We have to coordinate," she said softly, almost to herself. "Mercer, Veilric, they've acted. The packs, the veil, all of it is aligned, but the next move, if we do not guide it carefully, could be chaos." Dracula's fingers tapped along his arm, the sound faint against the vaulted ceiling. "Chaos is relative," he said. "To some it is death, to others creation. You understand this, Elena?" Elena's hands flexed, the faintest tremor betraying the weight of responsibility. "I do, but I also know we cannot rely solely on Veilric's instinct, or Leakin's judgment, or even Mercer's heart. All are brilliant, all are dangerous in isolation. Only together, coordinated, can we guide this war." A distant howl carried through the forest beyond the castle's walls, a reminder of the predators moving unseen. Dracula's crimson eyes glinted. "Then it is time we ensure coordination. Assemble them." Alara's augmented eye flickered. "I can reach Mercer, Leakin, Rashad. The veil will extend a comm channel. Veilric, I can patch him in." "Do it," Dracula said. "Now." The chamber shifted subtly as magical and technological conduits converged, a fusion of ancient sigils and modern circuits. Screens illuminated, holographic nodes glowing faintly in the center of the vault. A pulse of energy rippled outward, reaching across continents, connecting predator to predator, lockbearer to apex, human and non-human alike. On the other side of the network, Mercer felt it first. A tug at the veil, a resonance beyond comprehension. "Alara?" he said, voice tense. "It's him," she said. "Dracula. He's connecting to all of you." Leakin's golden eyes narrowed, focusing on a faint shimmer in the shadows. "Dracula is not here," he said. "Yet, I feel his presence." Veilric's amber gaze swept the treeline, armor plates shifting with subtle adjustments. "Presence," he muttered, "doesn't scare me. Observation is a weapon." Dracula's voice carried through the network, layered over magical resonance and digital channels alike. "Predators, wolves, humans who walk among apex, you have acted well. The AI has underestimated you. That advantage is fleeting." "Understood," Leakin said, voice deep, careful. "We are prepared." "Prepared," Veilric added, claws flexing. "But ready." Dracula's crimson eyes seemed to pierce the veil between reality and thought. "No, you are never ready. Only aligned." Mercer's hands clenched the interface. "Aligned," he whispered. "Then we move. Together." Alara's fingers danced across the projections, adjusting the veil, linking nodes, synchronizing wolf packs, drones, and human assets. "We are aligned," she said. "Now we strike." Leakin's eyes glinted. "Then let the apex move." Veilric's massive frame stepped forward, shaking the earth slightly with each stride. "Finally," he said, voice low and dangerous. "Time to remind them who owns the night." Dracula's smile was thin, cold, and precise. "And the night shall remember." The shadows shifted across continents simultaneously. Boardrooms, factories, server farms, forests, and city streets. Human leaders unaware, synthetic AI recalculating, wolves and humans, Iron Wolf and Lockbearer, moving in a silent, deadly symphony. A storm of calculated chaos was rising, and at the center of it, Veilric, Leakin, Rashad, Mercer, and Elena. Aligned, uneasy, apex predators united, prepared to reshape the world. For the first time, all knew the truth. The enemy was no longer merely the machines. The war was for dominance over calculation, instinct, and survival itself. And for a fleeting moment, the forest, the cities, and the veins of global infrastructure seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the first strike.